Poor man got justice.
Once upon a time, there lived a poor man named Ali. He worked hard for his living and was contented with whatever he had. Now Ali had a neighbor Qasim, who was as stingy as he was rich. It never gave him pleasure to see others, especially his poor neighbor, happy. He was always on the lookout for an excuse to get Ali into trouble. One day, Qasim held a feast in his house. The aroma of all the delicacies cooked in his house wafted in the wind and spread all over the neighborhood. Qasim, of course, never cared to invite his poor neighbor. Instead, he peeped over from his balcony into his neighbor's courtyard. To his consternation, he saw the poor man sitting and enjoying the delicious smell coming from his kitchen. Qasim's heart almost stopped in shock. "What?" thought he, "how dare that pauper inhale the aroma from my kitchen? My kitchen! The aroma from the food cooked with my money. The rascal! I will make him pay for this. I will take him to the Qazi and demand justice." Seething with anger, Qasim marched to Ali's house. Without so much as a greeting, he shouted to his neighbor, "You robber, you thief! How dare you steal from my house?" Poor Ali could not understand what theft he was being accused of. Without enlightening him, Qasim dragged the poor man to the Qazi. Word spread like wildfire, and a great crowd gathered to watch the proceedings. Qasim stood before the Qazi and presented his case in a loud and pompous voice. "Your Honor, this man had the audacity to sit in his backyard and without so much as lifting a finger, enjoy the delicious aroma of food coming from my kitchen. I demand payment for the pleasure that he enjoyed at my expense." "Your Honor, you have always been just, and I am sure that you will mete out justice in this case too." Indeed, the Qazi was a just man, as honorable and witty as he was just. He listened quietly. The shock on his face was slowly replaced by a twinkle in his eyes. Now he turned to Ali. "Is what this man says true? Did you enjoy at his expense?" "Yes, Your Honor, but I could not help it." "Ali, you have to pay Qasim for the favor enjoyed. The court orders both of you to come here tomorrow at the same time. By God, justice will be done." Qasim gave Ali a scornful look and walked out of the place with a victorious smile on his lips. Poor Ali was bewildered. Just as he was leaving, the Qazi called to him to a corner and whispered something in his ear. Ali's face lit up, and he hurried to his house. The next day, the court was overflowing. The whole town, which knew about the low character of Qasim and the innocent nature of Ali, were curious as to how their Qazi would solve this problem. Both Qasim and Ali were brought before the Qazi. Ali carried with him a big box. Qasim's face glowed with anticipation as he recognized Ali's money box. "All my money, Your Honor," said Ali. "Okay. Now, shake the box so that all of us can be sure your box contains money." Ali shook the money box vigorously, and there was a loud jingling noise. The Qazi turned to Qasim. "Oh Qasim, doesn't that sound lovely?" "Ah, yes, Your Honor." "Ali, shake the box once more," the Qazi commanded. Ali obeyed. "Qasim, don't you feel happy to hear the sound of so many coins?" the Qazi queried. His eyes glittering, Qasim exclaimed, "Oh Your Honor, the sound of that money gives me utmost pleasure." So saying, the greedy man was about to grab the money box from Ali. "Don't you dare touch it." The grim voice of the Qazi rang out. "Ali has paid you in full measure. Just as the aroma of your food gave him pleasure, so did the sound of his money give you pleasure. You have been paid back in the same coin. Justice has been done." The courtroom rang with thundering applause for the Qazi for his keen wit and intelligence. The Qazi, his voice still grim, pronounced further, "Qasim, pay Ali 100 gold coins, and punishment for harassing your neighbor and disturbing the peace of his household." Ali returned home as happy man and Qasim as wiser man.
Two friends and a bear.
Once, two friends were on a journey through a forest. As they entered the deeper part of the forest, they were gripped with fear. They promised each other that they will stick together in case of any trouble, they will help each other in whatever way they can. All of a sudden, they saw a large bear approaching them. They both got scared. Seeing the bear very near to them, one of the friends climbed up a tree without helping the other friend. The other friend didn't know how to climb a tree. Soon he threw himself on the ground. He closed his eyes, held his breath, and lay still as if he was not alive. He had somewhere heard that a bear doesn't eat a dead man. Now this turned up to a fact. The bear came close to him and sniffed around his ear and head. Thinking that the boy was dead, the bear left the boy and walked away. When the bear was out of sight, the friend climbed down from the tree and asked, "What did the bear whisper in your ear?" The other friend replied, "The bear warned me to avoid the company of friends who leave their friends alone in times of danger."
Pot full of gold.
A trader named Mark lived in a town. He had a vast business. He was very rich. But he was a very miserly person. Spending was a dirty word for him. Mark was such a miser that he ate dried up bread with a piece of pickle in his meal. He wore simple homemade clothes. He never employed any servant. In his house, to save money, his wife did all the household work. The couple had no issue. Mark went on foot wherever he had to go. All people knew that Mark was very wealthy, but extremely stingy. So, Mark had been nicknamed Tight Fist. All the money he earned he would convert into gold coins. Behind his house, he had a big garden. He went there every morning and evening for a walk. There, at a spot, he had buried a big earthen pot in the ground. That pot contained his gold corns. As he converted his earnings into gold coins, he kept putting them in it one after another. At night, only one earthen lamp was lit in his house. If his wife had to go in another corner to do some work, she had to carry the same lamp for the light. Mark had not told anyone about the gold coin treasure he was raising. Even his wife didn't know that her husband was treasuring up so much gold. She thought that he was living on crumbs because his business was not doing well. His wife Susan was a simple Orthodox woman. She talked to no one else except Mark. She never went out of the house. Not only that, but she had no knowledge that her husband was notorious as a tight fist. Susan yearned for fine clothes and jewelry. But she never made any demand on her husband under the impression that he was poor. If ever there was vegetable or bread left over, he would not let it be thrown away. He ate the same as the next meal. Even he avoided using shoes or slippers to save them from wearing out. Every 6 months, he would get his head shaved off to save on periodic haircut expenses. He wore dresses inside out after the normal wear to save on washing. All the time, Mark thought of new ways of saving expenses. He did go to the garden every day. His wife thought it was for health reasons. But the fact was that he went to enjoy the fruits of his miserliness. He would gleefully watch his treasure, and sometimes he would even count the gold coins. It had been happening for quite a long time. One day, a thief happened to peep in over the wall of the garden and saw Mark putting a gold coin in his treasure pot. The thief waited for the night to fall. In the darkness of the night, the thief made off with the pot full of the gold coins. In the morning, Mark went into his garden as usual. His blood curdled when he reached his treasure spot. There was a big hole where his pot used to be. He felt giddy. Should he tell his wife or inform police? His mind was not working. He staggered a few steps and collapsed. When he didn't reach home for quite some time, his wife came to the garden looking for him. Mark was carried into the house with the help of some neighbors. He fell ill due to grief and shock. Medicines were doing no good to him. At last, he revealed to his wife the loss of his gold treasure. It pained his wife too. His close friend Rashid came to see him one day. Mark confided to his friend the theft of the gold pot. Rashid understood the cause of the illness. He advised him to stop the treatment, as the real illness was in the mind of Mark. Rashid asked, "Tell me, why were you collecting all that gold?" "For myself," Mark replied. "For yourself? But you were not spending it." "Then," Mark mumbled, "I was saving it for the future. For my old age, for my children if God blesses us with." Rashid reasoned, "When you were not using that wealth now, then why would you need it in old age? Listen to me. Forget that you lost any gold treasure. Go on living as before, eating leftover, and wearing simple clothes." Mark moaned, "How's that possible? I have lost my treasure. How can I remain calm?" Rashid spoke, "Friend. The wealth that was of no use for you meant nothing. Who has that gold pot right now makes no practical difference to you. Maybe the thief is putting it to some good use. Imagine that the gold pot is still buried in your garden. If you like, you can go on living a miserly life as before. If you have learned a lesson, then spend the money you earn now on the happiness of your wife and yourself. Don't worry about the children which you don't have, unfortunately. You have lost nothing, but gained a valuable experience." Mark saw reason in his friend's advice. Gradually, he became healthy again. The experience changed his habit. He was no more tight-fisted. He spent money and lived comfortably with his wife. Thanks for watching.